Hello, hello. It's so purple in here. Okay. Well, welcome to IZEAFest. This is our first time. We're excited to be here. I'm John Spinks.
And I'm Whitney Spinks, and we're from HGTV's Flipping the Block and HGTV Florida Flippers.
And we're so excited. Thank you. Even if you didn't watch it, it's an awesome show. We're so excited to have our three panelists here today. We have Chris, Christina, and Valentine, and we're going to let each one of them introduce themselves a little bit, tell you a little bit about what they do, why they're here today, and then we'll get into some of the really good content and stuff that we're going to go over today. So Chris, if you'd tell us who you are and what you got going on.
Well, I'd love to. My name is Chris Ashback from LiveDan330. Everybody asks me, Dan, why is your email chris.ashback@gmail? And I'm like, well, it's not how it works. We are a food, a garden, and a travel blog. We have about 2 million people that follow us between the social channels and our subscribers, and we're excited to be here.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Christina?
Awesome. I'm Christina Webb. I just turned 20. I'm from New Zealand, hence
Woo!
the accent. I started an Instagram account when I was 17 about my art, and it's now grown to 1.7 million followers, and I have another personal account with about 600,000 and other various social medias.
No big deal.
Your artwork is amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
I looked you up on Instagram. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. And through that following, I've managed to do so many fun projects and worked with amazing brands. And my last project was publishing my own book with HarperCollins in New York, and I just got off that book tour about a week ago. So,
It's awesome.
yeah.
20 years old with your own book. That's insane.
Yeah.
Valentine, follow that up.
I've got maybe 100 followers. I'm Valentine Sieferman. I work at a company called Home Advisor where I do SEO, manage SEO there. And we're a marketplace that connects homeowners to home improvement contractors. So.
Awesome. So we got the blogger, the artist, and the global head of SEO for Home Advisor. So this is an awesome bunch here today. Of course, if you guys haven't checked them out, please do. Again, Home Advisor, a great resource for everything home. Christina's art is amazing, and Chris has some muffins on the home page right now that look delicious. So we're really excited. And today, home is where your art is, right? So all of these guys are really influential in creating and growing brands, and they are some of the best people to talk to about this stuff. So we'll just go right into it, and we've got some questions that we've kind of prompted here. We'll just kind of see where the conversation goes. And one of the first things that I'm really curious about all you guys is working from your home, right? So we've got a home is a small but very personal space, and how do you use your home to connect with your followers in a unique way? Christina, I'm going to start with you. We actually talked about this a little bit, and your sister said, you know what, you really don't have a home base.
No.
You travel a lot.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, no, I had a home the first 2 years of it all, but for the past 2 years, I've been sort of living out of a suitcase, hotel to hotel, different countries. But when I first started out, a great way that I would connect with my followers through my home was I had a post box, and they'd send me letters and drawings, and I would make sure to put them up on my walls and take pictures of them and share them with the followers to let them know that I'd got them, I loved them, I appreciated that they'd taken the time to write and draw these things. And I think that they really appreciate seeing that I loved getting those. And living from hotel room to hotel room, there's really no difference. I still, with this book too, I got a lot of gifts and letters, and I lay them out every single night and take pictures on Snapchat and Instagram to let them know that I really appreciate that. So that's a great way to connect.
Yeah, I think letting your followers know that you appreciate them and bringing them into what you do, because sometimes, like you said, they send you pictures and then you draw them.
I do, yes. That's another way I interact. Is I had a hashtag on Instagram called Draw Me Christina, which has around 200,000 photos in it, and I draw them. I surprise them sometimes. Every few weeks, I'll draw one of them, and
That's
awesome.
yeah,
So
I love
cool.
doing that.
I wish I should do this panel.
What?
Should do this panel later.
Oh yeah, I'll draw you all.
Yeah, can you draw me if I hashtag draw me Christina?
Well,
Will you draw me?
that could
We're
potentially
gonna do it live
happen.
here in just a second. It's gonna be horrible. Chris, what about you? And you're the exact opposite, right? You do your work from home. That is your space.
I have a very full house. I have 4 kids. They're 3, 5, 7, and 9. And anybody with kids knows what a house is like, because 4 of our jobs is to pull things out of shelves and cupboards and boxes and dump them on the floor. So it's hard enough to keep a house clean just to say you can live in it, but when you have to use it as a studio, you know,
Right.
you kind of have to look a little more creative. It's the best and worst thing that's happened at the same time, because on one hand, it's tricky, and there's certain things that you have to do to really be very purposeful about making good content in your home.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're also relevant, and you're trying to reach people. Our audience are people who live in homes and deal with the same things we do. They're cooking for their families, so us showing how we cook for our family in our home really is a good message at the same time.
Relatable.
Yes.
Yep. Definitely.
That's a really good point. Valentine, I've got a question for you. Valentine. I've got a question that we talked about beforehand a little bit, and it's regarding budgeting, right? So you're the head of SEO for Home Advisor, which has grown a lot. We had the TV on HGTV, of course, before we came in here, and we didn't see ourselves, but we saw some Home Advisor commercials on there. And so we're in a stage with our small business where we're starting to spend money on SEO and site optimization and things like that, right? So when we approached this problem with our company, one of the first things we did was Google. We're based out of Jacksonville, Florida, and we Googled site optimization, SEO, Jacksonville, Florida, and we called the first few guys that popped up. And I said, here's our budget. Make our site awesome and increase sales. Is that the wrong way to go about it, or what can small, medium, and large companies do from the ground up to increase, SEO?
Yeah, it's definitely, SEO's changed a lot over the years. Google's worked really hard to make it more difficult than it ever has been. From a small business perspective, if you're a local business and you're obviously looking for kind of a concentrated audience, getting local citations throughout as many places as you can with kind of the same name, address, and phone number is always good.
Okay.
Getting reviews for your business is always going to be beneficial. And then if there's any content that you can create that is localized and relevant to what you're doing, that's going to be beneficial as well. The other thing to think about is, unfortunately, there are a lot of SEO agencies out there that may not be up to par, and so doing your research, with anybody you hire, really, quite honestly, doing your research is always a good thing. So.
All tech companies aren't created equal, right?
Right.
It's kind of
Yeah.
So Home Advisor is one of the things with you guys is you say, hey, we work a lot. We have an entire department dedicated to SEO. So for a company like yours, come on with us and we'll help you rank on Google, or we'll rank and then internally with us, you can be one of the first hits when somebody clicks here, right?
Yep.
That's kind of one of the avenues.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Good.
All right, well, Christina, how did you get started drawing? And I guess, was there a point that you realized that you had this large following and you had this huge fan base?
Yeah, no, I've been drawing since I could hold a pencil. I remember it was picture books that really got me into drawing. I would just go through the pictures, not reading anything. I would just stare at the illustrations. And when I was little, I would create my own characters and be in my own little world and draw them all out and everything. So that's really what got me into drawing. But a point in time when I realized that people actually sort of liked the artwork that I was creating was I was about 15 years old and I was in school and I was taking as many art subjects as I could possibly take, but I felt like they sort of stifled creativity in a way.
Yeah.
And I was I felt like we were told what to draw, what with, how to do it, and there was no room for thinking outside the box and creating your own style. So I wasn't getting very much encouragement from my teachers at school, and I went home and I would create the art that I loved to create and no boundaries at all. And then I created a Tumblr account when I was 15 and I started sharing that, and I got all this positive feedback from these strangers online, and that was the moment when I was like, well, people actually are liking what I'm doing, and it was the encouragement that I needed to keep going with my art.
That's
So.
really, really cool because, we kind of talk about it sometimes in interior design. When you go to school for interior design, you're taught all these rules and things that you're supposed to do when you create a room, but sometimes it's just more fun to think outside the box and just be you.
Yeah,
and have fun with
just
it.
Be more creative and
Break the rules. That's so cool. That's really good. Chris, same with you with photography and.
Well, yeah, I realized that the social media was valuable. And I remember this moment perfectly because I was just finishing graduate school and I was walking through Bethel University, literally with my paperwork I need to get signed by the advisors and deans and everybody else, because that's what you do at a university. And I went through there, and no less than 11 girls that were students there were looking at Pinterest, looking up wedding dresses. And that's when I go, aha, I just got a degree in leadership, but we need to be in social media.
Right.
And that's where the money is, and that's what people are doing.
Yeah, it's huge. You know, it's funny. Our company's only a couple years old. The very first employee that we hired was PR, communications, and social media. That was the first employee, and we were heavy in construction. You know, so that was our first full timer. And she better be working right now. She's probably on Joycaster and YouTube. Coral, make sure you're working. But it is so important, you know. And we had kind of two things that we were growing with the show. We were growing this international brand that we wanted to push. Christina, I think it's kind of an international thing. And then we had this local service-based, home-based company that we were trying to grow and trying to merge the two and figuring out that complex web of local push and, an international push as well. And we're here today, so maybe it worked. But, it's good. There's so much to learn, and it's really intimidating. But yeah.
So I guess Valentine, when you're looking for influencers to work with, what are some of the things that you look for?
To put it in a nutshell, I guess, we're looking for people with an engaged and relevant tribe.
Okay.
So, do you have people engaging with you either on the social channels or on your website, leaving comments and things like that? And really just a natural alignment between, for us, at least what we're doing, what we're trying to do from a home improvement standpoint, and then what they have to offer. And also how does that person or that blogger weave brands into their story? So
That integration there. And
Yeah.
I think you brought up a good point about engaging, because engaging is so huge with social media. And I think when people leave you comments, maybe Christina, you're probably familiar with this, they like to see that you respond to them and that you're engaging with them, because then they're going to come back and continue to like and comment.
Yeah,
and you're
it's
just
so
growing.
important. Interaction is so important when it comes to social media.
Exactly.
I saw one of your videos where you were showing your room and you had
it's
walls
a personal.
full of
It's a
fanning.
personal thing. You sort of with my following, it's a lot of young teenage girls going through school and everything, and it's just a really personal thing. And
Right.
you're showing them your room and your life, and it's almost like a friendship. It really is.
Yeah,
awesome.
that's
And-
so cool. That's
yeah.
really, really good. And you know what, that brings up a good point, right? You talk to an SEO guy, or if you start to really want to push your brand, the number one thing that I think always starts to come back to is you got to have good content. You got to have good content. It's all, you can spend all the money you want, you can do all the Google AdSense you want, you can do this, but if you don't have good content, it's just, it's on the surface. Nobody will ever dive deeper. You're not going to increase
Invest.
sales,
Right.
So Chris and Christina, both of you guys, I think, how do you keep coming up with good content, whether it's at home or on the road, and how do you do it without spending a lot of money to increase those followers and increase the brand?
Well, that's a great question. Really a lot of it is just, you have to get away from your site. I mean, we have about 30 people who contribute to our site on a regular basis. I think, the blueberry muffins that you mentioned, we're one of those. And we ask for people to submit things, but that are, fit our site, because we still
Right.
want to maintain our core, theme of what we're doing. But we get a lot of inspiration just looking at, understanding what's trending. What are people interested in? If people aren't engaging in a topic, if they're not interested in a topic, there's not much reason for us to write there. And I think that adds value to the brands that we work with too, because we want to be where the eyes are.
Right.
And we want to actually make that connection. So it's important for us to do that.
Sure.
Yeah. Christina, what about you? Coming up with new content. Now, was it your idea to do the hashtag #DrawMeChristina?
Yeah, no, definitely. That was completely my idea. I wanted to, it's sort of a way to give back to my followers for their constant support and all their comments of encouragement.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, yeah.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
You are the brand, right?
Yeah.
You are the company. You are the brand, and now you have the book. You have this tangible thing that you want to increase sales. You've gone from an artist, it's awesome, and who now has this tangible thing for sale, and you've gone on the book tour. How do you take that new product and what have you done, or what have you seen has been most successful to push that and to increase sales with that tangible
Well,
thing?
I think it's, like I was saying before, it's the interaction. The book is half biography, so it gives the reader an insight into my life and my journey so far. And then the second part of the book is 50 creative challenges where the reader actually draws inside, and on the left-hand page there are prompts, like ideas for them to draw inside the book. And with the book, I sort of tied it in with social media, and I have a hashtag CMC book, and it's where they post what they've drawn on those sites. And it's only been out a few weeks, there's already 8,000 people tagging their pictures in
That is awesome.
Wow, awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's such a wonderful thing because people can go through if they're stuck on a page, and they can go through and there's a literal gallery that they can see and get inspired from, or come up with an idea from seeing what other people are creating. So it's really a community, and it's bringing everyone together and sharing. So that's what Instagram is all about. It's about a visual thing. And
Correct. Yeah.
8,000 in 1 week.
a week or so, yeah.
That is amazing. So where can we buy your book?
Yeah, well, it's in Australia, New Zealand, UK, and nationwide US. It's in Barnes & Noble and all major retailers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
online, Amazon.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
That's really cool.
Valentine, what social channels are most valuable for brands that are in the home improvement space?
For us, Facebook is by far the leader and the most valuable for us. And then kind of a distant second, third, and fourth, it would be Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest.
Okay.
Are definitely. And
Gotcha.
I think there was Pew Research actually put out a study recently that kind of surveyed a bunch of different people, and Pinterest and Instagram are the fastest growing, so definitely don't ignore any one channel.
Right.
Yeah.
And find one that works well for you, most importantly, because I think what works for one place might not work for another.
So with that, right, Facebook's making a lot of changes, and everybody's making a lot of change. All the platforms are making a lot of changes, but like you said, Pinterest and Instagram are the fastest growing.
Yeah.
So are people spending more time on Pinterest and Instagram and less time on Facebook, or more time on all the platforms altogether? What do we say?
I forget the exact data, but I know there's a lot of engagement, obviously, on Facebook, and I think people are engaging with these social media channels in different ways and finding out kind of how you and your niche fits in with those different channels. And they just were saying that Twitter's kind of had a stall as far as growth is concerned. It doesn't mean that people are necessarily engaging any less, but Pinterest and Instagram are definitely the fastest growing. So.
Interesting.
That is interesting because that Instagram and Pinterest are both visually,
Yeah.
visual based
It's all about
platforms. It's all about the pictures.
Yeah, and Instagram is owned by Facebook, so.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I think just we're starting to boost posts and things like that locally and kind of exploring that. And it's been a pretty good ROI locally,
Yeah, that's good.
for us. So a lot of growth, a lot of things changing, and it's hard to keep up with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it's important to diversify your traffic source as well, because you don't want to put all your eggs in the Facebook basket or
Right.
the SEO basket, and so I think having a diversified traffic set's important.
As
Gotcha.
far as posting on the different social media platforms, do you feel like you need to be in a routine to post on Facebook 3 or 4 times a week for your business, or once a day? Is there a sort of formula that works really well?
Well, they'll probably be able to better speak to that, but for us, I mean, we use Facebook a lot for customer service as well, and Twitter. And so we engage in different ways, but we try to post, once a day on average. Yeah.
Gotcha. And Chris, with your blog, right? That's where we got started was with a blog, and that's where the network actually found us, and that's why everything happened was through this blog. And do you still see with Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest and Instagram the relevancy of the blog, right? It's there, and so you use some of those platforms to come back to your site, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When we look at our business as a whole, we divide it out into 2 big sections. When we have our blog itself, and that's where we have some of our posts that guests produce, but it's where all of our original content is at the same time. And we have the social media side, and they work together for obvious reasons, and there's a million links between them, but literally sometimes. And but what happens is they really are very different kind of animals. I mean, the blog itself is where you really get in depth and really have that time on page, and you really get to reach and connect with people. The social media is more of a distribution channel in some ways, and it's a good way to introduce people to ideas, and it's a good way to, sometimes we even think about it as getting leads for our website.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a really good way to think about it. And one of the things that we talked about earlier was you kind of have a message, right, to people starting a new blog or getting off the ground with social media, and that is that you're not starting from the ground up. You have a base, you have a network already, and integrating that is really important.
Absolutely. I think anytime that you think, hey, I have a career, I want to make a change, I want to start blogging, that's wonderful. And you can start from scratch, and there's nothing wrong with that. One of the things that I would really encourage you to do is understand what assets you already have. What are those relationships that are out there that you already want to connect with and leverage in your blog and your social media? Because I was telling you earlier, we make about half the money on 10% of the traffic of our site.
Wow, yeah.
We really have a big presence in Minnesota vacations. So if any of you are looking, let us know. We'll help you out. But because shamelessly promote myself on social media and every chance I get. But what we can do is we'll use that and generate leads, and we can earn commissions on because my family owned a resort for 20 years in northern Minnesota. I know the players up there. Very few other people could step into that role. I have an audience and a reach, and I know how to buy ads, and I know how to reach people organically that are looking for vacations and looking for last-minute vacations. And I can use that with my old relationships to earn money.
So you took what you already had existing and you applied that and integrated it heavily into your newer media and digital presence.
Yes.
Real world stuff. That's really good. I think that's a good message. When we started the company, we had clients and had things that we had done before, but we didn't. I wish we would have heard that piece of advice, because we just looked at it as a white screen, and where do we go from here, and it's all new from here, and didn't pick up the phone and call old contents and get in touch with the old network to integrate them into the new.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important not to miss the point that it doesn't have to be your relationships. You might know somebody that has a relationship.
Right.
When we're teaming up with brands for sponsored content or sponsored social, or anything like that, you have to think like that. This is what we're trying to do. I'm running a business, there anyways, but I'm working with other people who are doing the same thing. And I want to help them be successful and make those conversions and get their brand name out just like I am here. So, you can, when I look at it personally, I think you can have a small niche inside of your website that can be very profitable with the right customers and the right brands.
Got it.
That's awesome
Got
piece
it.
of advice.
Which is different than you, Christina. You're
Yeah.
so young, and you started everything from the ground up as far as
Yeah.
the social media presence, and you just have this raw talent that has really caught on, and it's become so visual, and we're seeing a lot more visual interaction, less words, more pictures, right? That's
Yeah.
what we all want to see, and I think everybody is spending more time on social media platforms in general, and
Definitely.
that's so good. And now you've monetized it, with the book and otherwise.
Working with brands and the book and projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
It's great.
So Christina, you also have developed a team around you. And as your
Yeah.
popularity has grown, what changes have you made to support that growth?
Yeah, well, I was in school when it all started happening, and I was trying to explain social media to my mum. It was a little technology challenge, and she was like, "Okay, honey," and she made me go get a job at a bakery. And she was like, "No." She didn't understand it to begin with, and then she slowly started to understand that there were these people out in the world, because being from New Zealand, it's such a small, isolated country from the rest of the world, and with the internet being able to reach so many more people is absolutely insane. But she started to understand the people that were engaging in my art, and she really helped me manage it, the emails and getting me from place to place for different interviews and things. She really helped, and it's just grown a lot bigger now. I've got my sister on board as well, she's sort of the business side of the brand. She's sort of the left side of the brain, I'm the right.
There you go.
And she helps a lot. I have an agent in LA with UTA, and he helps. They all help. He helps negotiate deals, working with brands. He helped put me in contact with the book agent I have now in New York, and then there's the publishing team. HarperCollins in New York, they all help, and I think I'm doing a second book with them, so that's going to be the next few weeks.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank
Book
you.
number 2, yeah, 20 years old.
Yeah, you heard it here first. I did the deal yesterday.
Okay.
Second book.
Okay.
Thank you.
That is
Thank
so
you very
amazing.
much. But yeah, it's a big team and it's a lot of fun. But I definitely handle all the art side of it, and then give the business side to my sister a little bit.
You know, and I think that's a really good point, to do what you're good at, right?
Yeah,
To
yeah.
hire an SEO guy, or to build a team. You know, the old adage of, you know, hire people who are smarter than you, right? and you do what you do. You focus on what you
Yeah,
do.
right.
And that's one of the things that we've kind of done as we've grown, as the business has scaled a little bit, to focus on design, right? That's what we want to come back to, and to spend less time on accounting and things like that, because
Of
we don't like it.
course, yeah.
But
you
because
gotta
it's,
But it's
utilize
still
your
important.
time. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
it has
You
to
have
be done.
to focus where you're the best at. So,
Kind of like you say too, Chris, it's all about the content. It's easy to get caught up in the blog itself, but then you need to spend time on that creative content and new content.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good.
so Christina or Chris, either one of you, this space is becoming more and more crowded with creators of all types, right? There are millions of blogs, millions of Instagram accounts. So what have you done to make sure that you remain relevant to your audience and continue to grow?
I think with my account, it's sort of about having a different variety of posts, keeping it new. I sort of like when my followers don't know what's coming next. I like to change up my artwork. I don't just draw the one thing. I'll draw Disney. I'll draw drawings with messages with anti-bullying, self-love. I draw things like using everyday materials like pencil sharpenings and lettuce, and add in fun things, and they just never know what to expect. And I think that's so important, is to sort of surprise them and things like that, and interaction.
Yeah.
I cannot stress that enough. Keeping relevant is about interacting with your audience and becoming friends with them, and
Yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Good point.
I totally agree. I mean,
Yeah.
This is a relationship. It's called social media for a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
this is about relationships with people.
Yep.
And you know, as much as you can have a relationship with millions of people at a time, you have to try.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's a good point. Talking about you know, people want to see you. They want to see the person behind the account, or the team behind the account in a company sense, you know. So we post a lot of interior design pictures, but then we also post pictures of us, or of the team, or the team at work.
They want to know
see
what's
people.
behind, and that's why I actually created that other account with my personal account, aside from the art one, where they can actually see the artist behind the scenes, and I do work in progress drawings. So it's just sort of a more personal insight, and that's what social media is in a way, just giving them that.
Yeah.
Especially with social media like Snapchat, like where you get a real insight into people's
Right.
lives. You can't edit those images; they're in the now. Like
What's
it's-
happening right now? What are they doing
yeah,
at this
because you got to
moment?
post it straight away, and
Yep.
Chris was doing Periscope on the way up
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
periscoped up here, so you may have seen that or not. You can see
Yeah.
what it's actually like back there. No, Periscope's a great tool that we've started to use for that exact reason, because I think sometimes the focus gets too much on your brand and not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of weird, but you kind of become your brand at the same time. So it's like there's actual personality, and there's actually a person there that you're connecting with, not just a concept or an idea.
Yeah.
So and that helps tie those social relationships that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So you can see me coming on stage, not just a website and
Right.
URL.
Yeah.
I think it's just more personal and relates better.
yeah, you have to put yourself out there. You
Yeah.
really do.
Very true. Take a risk sometimes a little
Yeah.
bit, right? I'm sure some of your drawings have provoked both positive and negative remarks in some
Yeah.
way or another, right?
Yeah,
That's
of
what we all
course.
face is criticism.
I mean, anyone that puts themselves out there on the internet is going to receive both positive and negative feedback, but that's just the internet for you.
Right.
So you can't
Which-
help that.
Which brings a really
Yeah.
good point.
Yeah.
And Valentine, I want to kind of get your take on this. You know, Home Advisor and representing companies and pushing different brands. What is the best way, or you know, what's the politically correct, or what's the best way that you've seen to handle negative feedback for a brand or for a company?
You definitely want to listen, because there's probably some root cause for whatever their kind of whatever that negative feedback is. So listening and identifying what that root cause is important. And then really engaging with them and trying to figure that out.
So you feel like it is best to kind of go ahead and comment and engage with the naysayers and just put it out there and just talk with them, or do you feel like it's best just to ignore that?
If it's a real problem, you want to tackle that head on, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And show, because we've seen it, right? We've seen on Facebook a brand and they push something and then somebody comments and, oh yeah, mine took 6 weeks to get here and it was broken in half,
Right.
you know? And then the company's rep, you know, will respond and say, oh, I'm sorry about that. Please contact us at customer care and we'll take care of you, right? So I think that's good to see, you know, whatever happens after that point, it's at least good to see that comment and then the company is proactive in addressing that.
Yeah, I think people appreciate that, the
Yeah.
proactiveness. Yeah.
Right.
And we've even seen it go on a step further sometimes. Oh, thanks. It was all taken care of. You know, I retract my comment or
Yeah.
something. You know?
Yeah.
Chris, your blueberry muffins taste horrible. Well, maybe you didn't cook them right. You know. But
Was the oven? Did you microwave them?
yeah. That's what I would do. That's a
So
good point.
kind of relating to the audience out here, there are probably a lot of people in the audience who dream of being able to work from home and make a living creating content, you know, about their passions. So what advice would you give them as far as starting from scratch? Any of you?
Well, starting from scratch, you know, find something you're passionate about. I mean, let's face it, this is not all fun and being up on stage talking to people. What, you know, you're going to spend a lot of time, and there's a lot of frustrations.
It's a full-time job.
It
Yeah,
is.
social
It is
media.
full-time.
Complete full-time. There's no breaks, there's no holidays, there's no weekends. You've got to constantly be interacting.
And it changes so fast.
Right.
I mean, what's working now isn't going to work in a month or in 2 months, and that's part of the reason you can't just set up a system and let it run. You got to be there, and you have to be engaged. You know, because it's constantly changing, and topics are changing, and and I think this is part of the reason why you have to brand yourself as part of it too. You know, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and if you're like thinking about starting something up, but it's always great to think of a way to stand out. I mean, there's a lot of people in the social media world, and think of a way to be unique and grab people's attention. And I think it's also about just being genuine and enjoying what you're putting out there, because then other people will enjoy it too.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
And I think from a practical business side too, don't think about how you're going to make money off of whatever asset you have in front of you at the time. Think about how you can provide value to people. Okay, now, that could look any number of ways, but where there's value, there will be profits somewhere. And that's where I think you want to really try to be, especially starting out. What are you adding to the internet?
You know, and we were talking about that. We started from the blog. We were just talking about this a minute ago. And some of the posts that you think, we go and we'll do a $150,000 custom marble kitchen renovation, and it's this beautiful showpiece thing, and it gets featured in a magazine, and you post it on Instagram, and there's like 3 comments. That's beautiful. And then you do this little $5 project with a vase, and we spray painted some beans, and Whitney stuck her makeup brushes in there, and in like a month there's like
Goes viral,
250,000 pins or something.
You don't know what's going to go viral.
It's
You
crazy.
just don't.
Yeah, it's sometimes the weirdest
The
little
internet.
things. And it might be something really personal, you know, Christina, kind of for you, or it might just be some of the silliest little projects that somebody, you after the fact, hindsight's always 20/20 with some of these posts, right? You say, oh yeah, well everybody can relate to that. Everybody has a vase and some spray paint laying around, and everybody does it, and then they repost it, and your brain keeps growing. So have that good content and relatable content, and you know, which brings up another question that I have both for Chris and Christina, and Valentine, you too. Are there any things that you guys, as the brand or as the company, any platforms or products that you started off using and put some time into, and then that you have now since dropped off, that you found out didn't work very well with feed burners or anything like that, that's not as popular as it used to be?
Or any social media platforms in general that maybe you tried out?
The answer is yes. I'm not going to say who they were because they were great. I mean, I'm not going to burn them over my personal preference, but yeah, I've tried some things and switched, and you know, it wasn't the best fit for what I was trying to do.
Sure.
You know, with my thing. I mean, because every provider has some service. You know, I mean, they're all a little different, and
Right.
I mean, you never guess right the first time, especially when you're starting. So it's natural that you have some of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good. Different platforms might be better for different things. Obviously, Instagram for pictures.
yeah, I'm on most platforms, but there's definitely ones that are more in tune with what I do, the visual ones.
Sure.
That things like maybe Twitter as much when you're like talking a lot. It's
Right.
like it's not as me as let's say Instagram because that's just a picture
Right.
platform. But
Twitter
yeah,
ends up being a link to your Instagram
yeah,
account to
sort
see your
of,
picture.
and posting pictures on Twitter, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That works. But yeah, there's definitely ones that you're more in tune with. But it's good to try them all, I think.
Go ahead.
You know, I will say though, make sure you find really reputable people to work with. IZEA's been fantastic for us. You know, I trust them. They're consistent. It's great. There's, you know, I do use WordPress,
Yep.
which is wonderful. You know, I use, you know, find a good host. Those are, you know, go look up reviews. See what people have said. They've already created value. You can take advantage of it. And you know, that's how I would approach it, especially when you're just starting.
And you know, Valentine, I have a question, a kind of a techie question a little bit. We just started taking some videos. We just started in YouTube and Periscope and some of that stuff. And we were, the plan was to take iPhone videos. We're on construction sites. We're in homes a lot, you know, so kind of doing these iPhone videos. And one of the things that our SEO guy said, you know, he said, really, if you can get a higher quality video, Google, the internet likes that a lot better when it's higher quality and it's faster. And I don't know if you have anything to comment about that, but.
Yeah, it's interesting because we actually did the opposite.
Okay.
So I don't know if the quality matters. That probably matters more for the users, but at the same time, it really depends because we started with a very high production, high budget video. And now we've actually ended up on the other end of the spectrum,
Okay.
where we went out and shot a bunch of videos in literally one day. And so I think testing and seeing kind of what works well for your audience is probably the most important thing.
Okay.
But it varies. Yeah.
That's good. Actually, that's really good to know.
It can be more
because-
relatable sometimes if you're just recording something on your phone.
Exactly.
It's just like everyone has their phone and they can record and
It just feels, again, very personal.
you don't want to overproduce something if it doesn't need to be.
Right.
Right.
It's all different.
Maybe it's just my old
Depends on your
archaic
brands.
construction guy's cell phone.
Well, I think
Don't use your flip phone.
if you're here on the first day, the first thing they showed was people's response to what this looked like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a great opening presentation because I go, you know, that's exactly it. We don't want to become what they were. You know, and there's a role for what the old media does, and it's a good role, but it's different, and we need to make sure we stay who we are and are that relatable and just normal people reaching other normal people.
Yep.
It's amazing what you can do with an iPhone in your home. It really is. So.
Yeah.
I'm still learning how to turn an iPhone on.
He's working on it.
I'm working on
He's an Android guy. So we're getting
it. Don't judge me.
Chris, if you wouldn't mind sharing some of your favorite projects that you've done around your home that made your home a better place while being a source for content.
Yeah, you know what? I did a series, a 6-month series on strawberry gardening.
Okay.
It was awesome. I'm a huge gardener. We got a great big gardening section. At one point, we were one of the top couple of gardening boards on Pinterest, and that's really how we got started. Anyways,
Very
so
cool.
we did the strawberry garden. Joel Carson is actually a neighbor of mine who's a New York Times bestselling author of Strawberry Gardens. And he goes, you got to do this and blog about it. Fine. And so I did this project, and it was fantastic. You know, the kids got involved. We did videos of the whole thing. We showed everything from start to finish, how you need to do it, followed his book. It's kind of a review of that project. But it fed us. Our kids got involved. They learned how to garden, where food comes from. It was just a wonderful series. And next year, we're going to expand on that a little bit, and we're going to try to do about 80% of our produce for our home.
Wow.
And we're going to take it from, hey, we live in suburbia, and our garden's not the size of this stage, but we're going to be able to make all of our red sauces, the ketchup, marinaras, everything, all homemade. We're going to can it at the end of the year, so you can certainly follow us along starting next spring on that project.
I think that's so cool because, obviously the younger generations are super techie and they're always on their phones and
Right.
kind of losing some of that, hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
So you're teaching your kids how to cook, which is really cool because you're using social media to do that.
Yeah.
So
I saw a pin the other day, and it was really funny. It was an old grandma sitting in a garden, and it was an old picture. And it said, my grandparents made it through World War II because they knew how to do things. I'm like, that's what we're doing. We're teaching you how to do things in
That's
today's
awesome.
world.
Yeah.
And speaking of what's trending, that's really popular. Actually, it sounds such commonplace, but gardening, it's almost a lost art, right? Or things like hunting or some of the more outdoorsy things.
Right.
Integrating that with something techie and social media is all the rage right now.
And plants actually grow by themselves. You just have minimum care. It's a lot easier than children.
Yeah, and I absolutely love encouraging young girls and young boys and teenagers to get a pen and pencil out, because that's another thing that's sort of lost in this world a little bit.
So
in this
true.
digital age, is getting them to actually draw or write or express their creativity through a traditional way, and then sharing it on social media, so it still incorporates what they love, that social media.
Right.
But getting them to do something like that is a fantastic thing.
That's
I
awesome.
love doing that.
You're a really big inspiration. I looked at some of your photos, and like the anti-bullying drawing that you did, I just thought was so cool because it was you, and you could really feel that you were passionate about it.
I am, yeah. No, being online, I see stories from my followers about being bullied, and I can really, well, I remember being in school, and I also feel like everyone in the world has been sort of bullied at some stage in their lives in different ways. Maybe it's by their boss or broken friendships or,
Right.
things like that. So I think it's something that everyone can relate to, and I feel like having the power to reach so many people, I like to utilize that and spread positive messages out. So they're my favorite drawings to do, 100%, yeah.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Well, do you guys have anything else that you want to get out to everyone? Shameless plugs.
Go ahead, I did.
Home Advisor, Christina Webb, Chris Ashback.
No, it's okay.
You guys have been awesome. You're all an inspiration and a great source of knowledge, and we'll be hanging out up here if you guys have any questions for us, for these awesome guys.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. That's it.